Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a seriously fascinating spiritual discourse, one that literally links the most mundane daily household rituals directly to the afterlife, and then, believe it or not, straight to national security. It's an incredible journey through a very specific belief system, and we're going to unpack exactly how the source material constructs this narrative, going all the way from your kitchen table to the nation's sovereign borders.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the correct Roti ritual, move on to the Vaitarani River crossing, discuss the soul's protector, explore the link between cows and national borders, and finally, look at preserving the nation. Let's jump right in.
Part 1. The correct Roti ritual. Think about this for a second. Which Roti should you actually give to the cow? Because according to the source material we're looking at, the answer that most well-meaning people give is actually totally incorrect and deeply flawed within the spiritual framework. And this really gets to the heart of the misunderstanding. The widespread myth out there is that you must offer the very first Roti you cook to the cow. But the source points out a super practical reality here. Think about it. The first Roti is usually raw or burnt or kind of hard, right? So the correct ritual is to wait. You make 2 or 3 first so the pan gets perfectly hot, and only then do you offer the absolute best, most perfectly cooked Roti. The theological reasoning behind this simple kitchen tip is actually huge. The discourse emphasizes that the Desi Cow's body houses 33 crore. That's 330 million deities. So when you feed the cow, you aren't just feeding an animal. You are literally offering a feast to millions of divine beings. You certainly wouldn't offer a burnt, botched appetizer to a deity in a temple, so you have to offer a perfectly cooked meal with deep reverence here too.
Moving on to part 2, the Vaitarani River crossing.
To really understand the stakes, the speaker introduces us to the Vaitarani River.
According to this belief system, the moment after death and cremation, your soul arrives at this absolutely terrifying, perilous cosmic river. And here is the major catch. Absolutely no amount of money, no amount of status or worldly power can buy you a boat to cross it. Your earthly wealth, it is entirely useless at the shores of the Vaitarani.
Drawing heavily on classical texts, the speaker reminds us that the soul is completely immortal. It can't be destroyed by fire, it can't be dried by the wind, and it can't be dissolved by water. And because it's imperishable, you can't just fade away or die again to escape the river. You are utterly stuck. You are helplessly waiting at the riverbank, and you require a very, very specific metaphysical rescue mission.
Which brings us to part 3, the soul's protector. Now pay attention to this, because there is a strict, totally uncompromising distinction made here regarding the breed of the animal. This spiritual salvation is entirely exclusive to the indigenous Desi Cow. Foreign breeds, like a Jersey or a Holstein, they are explicitly dismissed as lacking these divine capabilities. Basically, according to the source, a foreign breed simply will not show up to rescue you at the Vaitarani River. The pure Desi Cow is the sole protector of the soul.
So let's look at how this step-by-step metaphysical journey plays out. You've got the imperishable soul waiting at this terrifying river. Suddenly, the Desi Cow magically arrives at the banks and lifts its tail. The soul grabs hold, and the cow acts as this living divine bridge, safely ferrying the soul across those treacherous waters, directly to Vaikuntha, or heaven. The cow's tail becomes your literal lifeline.
But wait, there is a massive condition here. The speaker strictly warns that this epic rescue only happens if you fulfilled some very specific earthly prerequisites while you were still alive. That cow is only going to lift its tail for you if you fed her the best Roti, if you ethically left enough milk for her calf instead of hogging it all, and crucially, if you cared for her with love into her old age long after she stopped giving milk. If you just exploited her, she's not showing up at the river.
All right, part 4, cows and national borders. This is where things take a massive pivot.
Up until now, we've been talking about the spiritual realm, but here the speaker presents a frankly massive, highly specific geopolitical thesis. They draw a direct, literal, causal link between the decline of the Desi Cow population in an area and a loss of that actual national territory. According to this worldview, the physical borders of a sovereign nation aren't just secured by militaries, they are fundamentally held together by the metaphysical presence and the societal reverence of the cow. To back this up, the speaker actually maps major historical events directly onto this theology. For example, the partition of India and the loss of the Sindh province to Pakistan, that is explicitly blamed on a decline in cow protection in that specific region. Same goes for the creation of Bangladesh out of East Bengal, attributed to the exact same cause. The speaker even points to modern separatist tensions in places like Kashmir, claiming that these political fractures are fundamentally the result of a local population losing its reverence for the cow. And this discourse doesn't just apply to international borders, it scales all the way down to a micro level. The speaker warns that local districts, they specifically call out the Dungapur district, could face rising separatism and fragmentation if the local disregard for cow life continues. So the logic scales perfectly from entire nations all the way down to local neighborhoods. If you lose the cow, you lose the land.
Finally, Part 5. Preserving the Nation. To prevent this kind of personal and national ruin, viewers are urged to adopt these specific, escalating steps of devotion. First off, if you have the space, you literally must keep a Desi cow at your own home. Second, if you don't have the space, you need to financially sponsor a cow at a local gaushala or shelter. And third, you have to physically and legally protect them. The speaker actually goes as far as to say that if you see cows being transported for slaughter, you are supposed to block the path, call the authorities, and physically intervene, even at the risk of your own life, to protect the nation and to save your own soul.
Taking a step back, it is truly fascinating to just observe the architecture of this argument. The source material seamlessly bridges this massive gap between the incredibly mundane act of choosing which piece of flatbread to feed an animal in your kitchen, the metaphysical terror of crossing a cosmic river after you die, and the hard geopolitical realities of securing international borders. It presents a completely unified worldview where the spiritual and the political are entirely indistinguishable. So, we want to leave you with this provocative thought. Regardless of your own personal views, this source material shows exactly how cultural beliefs can scale up with breathtaking speed, from the quiet, everyday moments of household devotion right up to the world-altering stage of geopolitics. What do you make of how this discourse constructs its worldview? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and keep questioning the architecture of the ideas around you.